afternoon, everybody. So, the loss of biodiversity problem is a really interesting one because that is the result of every single one of those things going wrong. And as a result, this is what we're seeing. One of the things, this is what we're seeing. And it's a tricky one to tackle because it's impossible to talk about biodiversity loss only as on its own, and we have to mention the other working groups as well. And I'm really glad that the water and the overpopulation guys went before us, because you kind of get the idea of where we're heading. So, right, let me just give you a quick idea of why is it important to conserve the biodiversity and why is it important. So, let this sink in for a bit. The insect pollination is worth more than 150 billion euros a year. Okay? This is the amount of money that we would be spending every single year to pollinate the fields. That's a lot of money. And right now we're spending zero on that. The insects are doing that for free. So imagine this is one of the hundreds of other types of biodiversity services that we are getting from the nature for free. If that wasn't there, we would be spending a lot of money on this. If you don't want to think about this in the terms of the ecological problem, think about it in the economic sense, and it makes more sense that way. So the solutions for the loss of biodiversity are argued. There's as many solutions there as are people on the planet. But one thing that we all agree about is where this is coming from. So what is the root problem? And the root problem is the growing human population. And the overpopulation is doing two things, right? So it is increasing the demand on two different things. Number one, it is increasing the demand on the physical living space. More people you have, more area you need to settle them on. The second thing that the overpopulation is doing is it is increasing the demand on the food production. So, more people you have, you need to feed them. Consequently, you will have a need for the bigger farms. So, if you want to have a bigger farms, you have to have more space. More space means more deforestation. More deforestation means clearing out the habitats. The habitats are being lost, the species are lost. So it's all interconnected. So when you have the bigger fields, and you have a lot of people to feed, now you're getting very, very sensitive to the damage of your crops. So you're becoming very sensitive to the insect damage, the pesticides. So now you are applying the pesticides, insecticides on the fields. You are losing insects. It is obvious that the insects are a nuisance for us and for the farmers, but it is a very important factor when it comes to the species like the grey partridge, for example. Fun fact, grey partridge is a protected species in Hungary. And the first problem and the first reason why is exactly the intensive agriculture. So moderating the intensive agriculture will ultimately solve a lot of problems when it comes to the small game species like pheasant, partridge, quail, etc., etc. Another thing that you would have is you're using very big, fast machinery, right? So you're using the harvesters that are very heavy, very fast. The species cannot escape those machines. So now you are having eggs and nests being destroyed on the field. That is also endangering the species in return. So what are we here for is that we have to talk about the solutions. So instead of having the bigger fields, it would be much better to have many small fields. And why is that? Because in this case, the field becomes more heterogeneous, let's say. You are allowing for more plant diversity. You are allowing for more insects to populate the area. More insects meaning more food for the protected and endangered species. It all ties together. What is another one? The slower mowing or the slower harvesting. You know, these are the small animals which are slow. They get caught up in the fast machinery. Their nests are being destroyed. Allow them to spread out. Allow them to escape the machinery and then continue on with the process. There's also another interesting thing that's happening. They will sometimes put the chains in front of the tractor, so it creates a noise. So it allows the small animals to kind of escape the blades of the tractors. This is a common problem actually. Most of the time the fields are harvested or mowed from the outside in. And what that does, it gathers all the small species together, all the slow species, and kills them off in the middle. Very easy, very technical solution for that is to change the direction of the mowing and the harvesting. Go from the outside in. Allow the species to spread out and then allow them to come back in. So now you're not physically killing the species and the individuals. These are all technical, very straightforward questions and solutions. Reducing the pesticide use. This is a very debatable thing because reducing the pesticides means you are now more vulnerable to the damage of the crops. And that means that the farmer will be losing the yield, or that they will be losing the production. But when you weigh the economic loss versus the ecological gain, the choice is obvious. So with that, we are concluding the presentation.